my life.
Hey, everybody.
Yo.
How's it
Hello,
going
hello.
today?
Hi. Good. How are you, Rob?
Oh, I'm
Or Ryan?
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome to another Big Bite. We're sorry that we missed you guys last week, but we're here this week to talk about mental health. I know that we're probably not the best stewards to talk about good mental health because most of the time you see us, we're sitting there like looking at code and just looking like we're on the verge of a breakdown. But that's just our process. That's just how we work. All right.
That's a good segue
I guess.
into what I'll be sharing today. Um, which is
Take your time. It's okay.
showing up now.
See, we're off for like 1 week and then suddenly everything just falls apart. Oh man. Oh my gosh. We got the screens changing size. All right, we'll fix this. You're good. Go for it.
All right. So I've talked about Google's digital well-being initiative before. They have this website for it that's just kind of, as it says, it's about finding the balance between technology and no technology in your life. And it's nice that they offer this as a resource because they obviously want people to use technology and specifically their technology. So um, it's nice to see that they're kind of giving you some tips on how to make it more of a balance. But in the past, just as I go to this next tab, I think we've shown some of these experiments with Google before where they have like a paper phone that kind of you rewrap your phone with it and it simplifies the buttons that you can use and stuff like that. So they have some fun with it too. But what I wanted to share today was something that you can all do when we share this out, or if you find it on your own. But basically, it's like a quiz that helps you reflect on your digital product habits. So I'm just going to take us through it and we'll see what happens at the end. But it's a nice experience too. You can see it took that grid of photos, and once you start, it kind of zooms into each one, which turns into kind of like a looping video. And so it takes these kind of relatable quotes. I'm sure as we go through a lot of these, you'll probably feel exactly what they're saying, but I tend to lose track of time when I'm on my phone. I would say sometimes. And feel free, you guys, to help me with these answers. So, who feels like they need to check your phone right away if it vibrates or makes a sound?
It's often.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
at least.
Can you go in
often-
between, or are those dots indicating?
You cannot
Yeah.
go in between. Yeah, so these are
I see.
specific points.
Am I the only one that hears noises or feels vibrations when there's like no notification on my phone?
Yes.
Yes,
The
Phantom
phantom ring.
notification. That's a
Oh,
thing.
okay, cool.
that happens to me. I get distracted by my phone when I'm with friends and family. I think that happens often, but it's funny because when I'm with friends and family, it's usually all of us getting distracted, and I'll look up from my phone, and everyone's on their phone. Very healthy.
Always.
Spend more time on social media than I'd like.
Rarely for me, but
Okay, we'll do that.
all right.
That's good for you.
Thanks.
Good for you,
Uh,
Jeff. Can't
It's a
relate.
concerted
That's good for you.
effort.
I'll stay on my phone instead of going to sleep when I intend to.
Oh yeah.
Oh, every night, often.
Yeah.
Yep. I feel like I'm missing something important at work if I don't check my phone. I would say
Up there.
I need clarification.
sometimes for that, because I mean, there's the computer too, so I'm not always checking my phone. If I have a question, I reach for my phone for an immediate answer.
Yes. That's the only way.
That's
I don't
the only way.
retain
Why wait,
information
right?
anymore.
If you don't look it up right away, then you'll never look it up.
Exactly.
I feel overwhelmed by the amount of unread emails I have. I'm going to say never because have I always open them. So That might be a
Good
unique
for you, Phil.
case.
You're a
I
pro.
see people with like thousands of unopened emails, and I can't handle that. So
That's
okay, so
Yeah.
your results. So again, you can all take this and kind of see what they recommend for you, and a lot of these are specific to Google products. So you can see it's specific to Android phones, or I know there's going to have some like YouTube specific ones, but there's a lot of similar features on iPhones as well. So pausing apps or controlling your notifications so that maybe they're delayed slightly. Um, Combining notifications so you don't get a ton of notifications from the same app, so you can kind of consolidate those into one. I'm just scrolling through some of these quick. Gmail notifications might be relevant. And then things like specifically with the Pixel, which we were just talking about before this, and some of us have the Pixel and we have feelings about it, but you can flip to your Pixel, so that's one thing. Ease
Wait, I
into your
never
night.
knew that.
You gotta
I
turn
knew
it
that.
on.
I knew that it could do that, but it kind of worried me because it's like, what if I have my phone face down and I didn't mean for it to be,
Right,
and then I
yeah.
get the notifications? But that's probably the bad part. Um, so yeah, I'll leave it here. But like another one, ease into your night, just reminding you to switch off at night. So um, yeah, things that you can try out and hopefully um, may help you. I certainly have been trying to um, not look at my phone right away when I wake up in the morning, and I tried that today, and I did it,
Nice.
and it
Good
felt
job.
weird.
Proud of you.
Nice.
Thank you.
I'm proud. I am
So,
proud of you. That's hard to do.
Yeah, it's the first thing I reach
Yeah.
for every morning.
definitely can't relate, but proud of you.
It's hard because like I use my phone as my alarm too,
Yeah.
so it's like I had to turn my alarm off and then just like see that I had things to look at, but not look at them.
Nice. Smart. Impressive.
It's a great quote.
Yeah, for sure. So I can share next, Rob, let me know if it's
Go for it.
properly sized.
Oh, it's perfect.
So there's this quote. Obviously, this is from 2019, still relevant. You can see it's got almost 30,000 retweets. And it's basically saying every day on Twitter, there's one main character, and the goal is to never be it. And I'm sure we've all seen, Bean Dad or something that's just like trending for about, 1 to 2 days, and everyone's just piling on to someone who said something. And sometimes it's a moral issue. Sometimes we're just questioning something or making fun of something. But the point is that, Twitter has this reach that can sometimes be unintended, and it can really affect people's mental health in a way that they maybe didn't sign up for or consent for. Like someone just posted a random thing and it just gets traction, and you don't realize that everyone now is going to be reading what you're saying and judging you. And so we may have shared a while ago this Twitter was testing these prompts where if it detected language that you were using in a tweet that you were about to send out, it would give you this prompt like, hey, this seems like it has some harmful language. Are you sure you want to tweet this out? And it would give someone the option to either edit it, not tweet it, or just go ahead and do it. So it wasn't censoring, it wasn't stopping you from doing anything. It was just providing that second question. And so they've got some updates on what they found after launching it last year and how they've tweaked it. And so I thought this was really interesting that after the prompt, 34% of people either revisited their original reply or revised, depending on how your reading comprehension is, and decided not to send it at all. That after being prompted just one time, that their future offensive tweets actually went down. So that was really interesting, right? If you just let someone know one time, like, hey, your language is important, you don't have to do it every time. Like that still has a lasting effect on people. And also, this may make sense, but if you're being prompted yourself, obviously that means that you maybe didn't post those things, and then also your likelihood of receiving offensive replies was lowered as well. So just goes to show, even in designing software and thinking about how users are going to interact with your application, you don't necessarily need to change your functionality. You don't need to have all these crazy filters or stop people from doing things. You could just let them know that language is important, and that could have an effect as well. So that's maybe something that would be easier to implement than trying to have this mass type of censorship. And they also have some more information in terms of they're improving their algorithm, and how people who are joking around with each other, who message each other frequently, maybe they're just joking and they don't need to be prompted and things like that. So they're continuing to work on this, but I think this is something that's really important when we start to think about the reach that these digital platforms have and how they can be directly related to someone's mental health. So that's on the user side, the software side, but on a more probably very targeted side to the developers, I found this article called "The Healing Power of JavaScript," and JavaScript is one of the programming languages that we use a lot on the website side. So anything that is that's interactive, or that's doing like modals opening and closing, or accordions, or anything like cool animations, like that's powered behind the scenes by JavaScript. So that's like the development language that we're writing. And earlier in the pandemic, everyone was doing jigsaw puzzles and baking bread. And if you were an artist, you were maybe drawing more, and if you're a writer, maybe you were writing more. And as a developer, I kept thinking like, wow, I don't have any of those skills. I'm not interested in building up any of those skills. And I found myself spending a lot of time coding and doing more of this type of stuff. And so I found this a really interesting article to show that mental health and self-care and things like that can come in many forms. It's not just giving yourself a nice bath and lighting a candle. Like, it can be coding, or it can be signing off of Twitter at 9 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. or something like that too. So there's a lot of different ways to take care of yourself and to distract yourself, and just making sure that you're finding what's working for you is really important. And so I really appreciated this validation that was provided to me by this article about the healing power of JavaScript. It's well written. It's an interesting read, regardless of if you know JavaScript. So I thought that was a good thing for me to find.
That's awesome. I can't wait to read that.
So I've got.
It resonates.
Every time I write JavaScript, I'm just thinking about like the healing power of it. And how much better
sure,
I feel at the end of the day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it's that when you're deep diving on a problem and then you come out of it 2 hours later and you've solved it, and Phil's happy with the animation, like that. Phil's happiness is healing to me, and
Dude.
If I can provide that through the power of JavaScript, that's what's important.
Yes, and it makes it worth it. It's like going through a really intense therapy session, and it's like you're probably crying while you're doing it, and about halfway through you're like, this is never going to work, this is the dumbest thing in the world, what am I doing with my life? But then Phil's that smile right there, that damn smile,
That's smile,
all you need, and you're like, perfect.
See, I guess I get my joy out of like seeing the completed JavaScript. So it works both ways, is what I'm saying. Keep it up, everybody.
We're definitely going to do it. We'll keep it up for you. All right.
Okay.
Jeff, would you like me to go next?
No, got it.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
so
for the love of Pete.
We got a sizing issue.
Yeah, of course, because your monitor's like the size of a baseball field.
All right. Well, anyways,
Hold
GWI. On. I found a cool like a 10 campaign list that GWI came up with. Global Web Index. They do a lot of like analytics and audience research and stuff like that. So they basically looked into the mental health repercussions of COVID-19 and quarantine, and came up with a really nice list of brands and campaigns that have done it right. And I took a couple of them. The first is Sound the Excuse, right? So this is, a lot of these came out of Europe. I guess they care for mental health over there. So it basically says, stuck on a stressful video call, try our soundboard. It's an excuse soundboard, right? So the tagline here is, no one should have to make excuses to look after their mental health. So here's a bunch of excuses to get you off of your video call that you don't want to be on. So baby crying, you click it. Okay. I'm assuming you can all hear that, right? There's a smoke alarm. Someone's locked in the loo. You have a smashed window. Yeah, burst
Please
pipes.
stop the baby.
Okay.
Why?
Bert.
Why? No, this is so useful, but now none of us can use it because we're all going to be just so suspicious of anybody who's got like a crying baby now.
Spilt tea is Matt Patrick's favorite one. So it's just like an interesting, it's really like kind of purposeless, right? But it's thebookofman.com. I don't know if it's like a men's health company in Europe. Just made this. It's kind of fun. I like the art style. And again, there's no like call to action or anything. It's just kind of an interesting animated interactive site that they made. Soundtheexcuse.com. Use it with your clients. See, another one they had was Jansport, Lighten the Load. This is a campaign for the backpack company Jansport, who are really in tune with their customers, right? So school-aged young adult people, probably breeding grounds for mental health issues, right? Because school-aged kids are bullies. It's just really well done. A couple testimonials, a couple of category like family and neglecting emotion, anxiety, depression, stuff like that. So they have resources for young adults who like school-aged kids to share or just understand what everybody else is going through. Maybe you feel less alone, and a couple of professional not testimonials, but combos. Interesting for Jansport, right? It just kind of illustrates knowing your audience and acting on mental health. You okay, mate? It's another kind of thing from like Jansport. It's for the Lad Bible, which is kind of like a new age news and meme kind of channel media group. So the fact that they went with "You okay, mate," which is kind of like a shorthand, meme sort of way to ask somebody if they're doing all right, just resonates with their audience. And they have a whole video series and social media campaign too, that hashtag "You okay, mate." And I watched a couple of the videos. They're deep, and they're just a couple people talking to each other like you would talk to a friend, hopefully. So those are good kind of case studies of like understanding your audience and acting appropriately through a full-fledged campaign. There are some brands that they trump it, right? They go right to Twitter and they say something that raises some questions or like furrows some eyebrows, because like what's that even mean, right? And who's Sunny D to be what's going on? Like other brands are saying like, hey, you all right? Like what's going on? Burger King, another example, they came up with unhappy meals, with the idea basically saying like, hey, it's okay to not be happy all the time. Here are a couple meals for when you're not feeling great. I like the sentiment, but like, don't give a fuck meal, salty meal, pissed meal, yas meal.
And they're all salty meals. It's McDonald's.
It's true. Yeah, iodized salt for sure. It just didn't get the reception that I think they were anticipating. Because I like the sentiment, right? No one's happy all the time. You have down days, but then to like try and brand it and sell it is a little interesting. I think going this way of like a feel good kind of campaign showing that like we're with you hit the nail on the head more than these kind of one-off like I feel ya kind of social media attempts. Steakums kind of did the same thing, but they just went on a rant that was way more like clear and defined as to what they were getting at. And they're basically saying, what's our audience? Well, it's millennials. Okay, what are millennials thinking these days? Well, they're pessimistic, they're crushed by debt, they're disenfranchised by other generations, and they try and play that card to drum up a little interest or understanding of where they're coming from, and they understand where their
I
audience
feel
is.
personally attacked for this.
Like, if you read this whole thing, it's actually like it's pretty good. And I read up on the dude who wrote it. It's this guy. He kind of looks like Edward Sharpe from the Magnetic Zeros, but he's got a lot of good stuff in here. But yeah, if you ever wonder why millennials might be sad or upset all the time, there you go. And then nihilist Arby's, probably nothing worth drilling into too much. You are nothing. Eat Arby's. Just a nihilist's view of mental health, I suppose.
That brand stuff was really interesting because you can tell that they had, talking from an agency's perspective, right? Like they had the right insight. It seems like the brief was probably right. And then just how it ended up happening maybe it leaned too far into humor and maybe not some of the more like sensitive nuances of mental health as well. And I think too, especially me and Rob, we love to joke about this kind of stuff amongst friends, but that type of humor doesn't always resonate to a larger group, and there are some serious implications about making light about this from a brand perspective on like a larger stage. So that's an important thing to keep in mind, like knowing your audience and knowing exactly what you're trying to do and what you're saying.
Yeah, and maybe choose your your channel wisely. Like social media, there's kind of a wild card, right? It can go really well and viral in a good way, or it can, people can take issue with it and it can go viral in a bad way.
Yeah.
Right.
Very true.
But yeah, it's a good list of 10 here that it kind of shows you what's the problem, like how they get this information, and what do they do about it, and why was it successful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're at 1 o'clock, so we should probably stop. But I have like just 2 quick things for you guys, so I'm gonna throw this out here. One of which is something that we'll post in our email to everybody. But this is specifically for people with anxiety, and this is really for the creatives, which talks about like how certain word choices, certain visual choices and aesthetics can actually make it so that people do not resonate with whatever it is that you're advertising or anything like that. And it's a really, really thoughtful thing. It talks about like all the different types of anxiety that there are and how like manipulative copy is bad and negative interactions are bad. And they kind of give you some good examples of like how to fix this and how to make sure that you're writing and designing with people in mind, like everybody in mind, which is really, really cool. And then for not just the creatives, but for everybody, this is donothingfor2minutes.com. And I suggest that each and every one of you, especially the PMs, do this like once or twice a day. And it's literally, you just sit here. There's waves that I don't have turned on at the moment that you can listen to, and it's really relaxing. But if you move your mouse, you got to try it again. So here's hoping that every single one of you guys can make it 2 minutes today, because you deserve it. You owe it to yourself.
It's funny that you could fail it.
Oh man, I fail it so often. And no
Move your
cheating
mouse.
of like, putting it on your second monitor and then like going over and doing other work. You got to actually sit here for 2 minutes. That's the deal. And hello, Andy Rose. Thanks for jumping in. Visitors, I like it.
A wild rose has appeared.
A wild rose has appeared, indeed. All right, well, thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for eating your lunch with us, and go forth, enjoy your days, enjoy your weekends, and work on your mental health. You deserve it. Especially you, Sarah Collins, because of how much you interacted with us today.
Especially Sarah.
Definitely Sarah.
Thank you for the audience participation.
All right. Love you guys. See you next week.
Love you, man. Be good.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.